Hey everyone, welcome to Exceptional Educators Playbook. I'm Chasity Craft, the literacy consultant here at KVEC, and today I have with me Doug Smith. He's our behavior consultant here at KVEC. And the purpose of this podcast is to offer professional learning opportunities to meet the needs of our educators while giving teachers a platform to be able to share their expertise. So every month we will highlight a different topic every educator needs to know. Each week, that topic will be broken down into content-specific categories. Week 1 will explain what it would look like in literacy. Week 2 will see how it works in math. Week 3
will be me.
Is Doug. And then week 4 is modifications and models for the low incidence community. So today we're going to be talking about co-teaching and collaboration. And this is week 1, so we're doing literacy. And I am super excited to have this co-teaching team with me here today. They are from Letcher County Central High School in Letcher County. We have Miss Jonette Collins. She is the general education English teacher. Stacy Quillen is the academic specialist through Gear Up. And Miss Kella Lowe is the special education teacher that completes this team. They are going to share with us what co-teaching models that they use, how they make it work in this virtual setting, how they implement SDI in this co-teaching setting, and also how they collect that data and use it to guide their instruction. So, which I told them who they were, but I'm going to let each of them just introduce themselves a little bit before we get started. So, and it was in no particular order that I named them, but since I have Jonette listed first, we'll start with you. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Like Chastity said, my name is Jonette Collins. I'm in my 21st year of teaching. I've always taught high school. I've taught grades 9 through 12. I taught at Letcher High School before the county high schools consolidated, but currently I teach juniors all day. I have regular junior classes, collaborative junior classes, and AP dual credit college classes for juniors.
Okay, and Stacy.
I'm Stacy Quillen, and I teach at the high school. I'm in 9th grade and 11th grade classes this year with Gear Up. And this is my 26th year of teaching. I taught 10 years at Neon High School. And then after the consolidation, I was at LCC for 5 years. And then two years at Martha Jane Potter. There I taught 6th through 8th grade. And then when the middle schools consolidated, I was at Fleming Neon Middle School for 7 years. And so now I'm glad to be back at LCC for these past 2 years.
Well, you've hit them all, haven't you, Stacy?
I've been around a few schools.
All grade levels. You got that covered.
Yeah, you've hit all the grade levels. So
Awesome job.
Which probably makes why you do a good job in the role that you're in right now. So, okay, and last but certainly not least, the baby of the group, Miss Kella.
My name's Kella Lowe. This is my 4th year teaching, so I'm still kind of a newbie. I went kind of a little bit all over the place too. This is my 2nd year in special education, but I started out teaching health and PE here at the high school, and then I taught 1 year in 1st grade at Letcher Elementary School, and that is actually what I got my bachelor's degree in, and then I went on and got my master's in special education. So now I'm with the high school, and I do 9th and 11th grade co-teaching with the English teachers. And I have all 6 periods collaborating throughout the day.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think with the situation and the time we're in, we're all newbies. So, we're all learning this stuff as we go. True. So you're not the only newbie. We're all newbies to this situation.
And I just realized when you all were doing your introductions, you all are all English background, so I don't think we're going to have any math moments that Miss Vonda likes to call. So they like to hijack my podcast sometimes and throw some math in there. So I don't think we're going to have that problem today.
Not for me, no. That's for sure.
Okay, so we'll get straight into it, girls. So Marilyn Friend has identified 6 co-teaching models. So do you care to share with us the models that you guys use?
I guess I can start. we just do the team teaching. One thing that I talked about, like especially right now where we're trying to prepare for ACT, we take passages and like if it's an ACT English passage and we're going over it with our collaborative classes, I start reading. I'll read to number one and give them the answer choices that way. And then Miss Quillen will pick up and start reading. And so it's just kind of to get the students used to all three of us. So we team teach that way. That's one way we do it. I'll let the others talk about a couple other ways we do it.
I think one thing that we do well is we all give feedback. We're constantly in touch with our students. We have the live session. Right after the live session, if students have worked independently, we all three give them feedback immediately and throughout the day and sometimes throughout the night when they need us. And so as our day goes on, at least one of us will be available to the students, throughout the day or throughout the evening. And I think that has made them feel comfortable with all three of us, equally comfortable with coming to us with questions, participating in class with us, in the virtual sessions and in the in-person sessions when we were at school. I think we, just were, it always flows because they see us in every role. They see us in the classroom, they see us giving the instruction, giving the feedback, answering the questions. And so I think that's been a positive for us in our classes.
Another model we use sometimes is we'll station teach and kind of split the kids up into different groups based on what needs that they have, different accommodations. We might have a group one day that doesn't have any readers or accommodations on the testing, and then we'll have a group with just extended time, and then a separate group with a reader and that extra time, and we'll split it up that way.
That's awesome. And I know when I talked to you earlier last week, one of the things you guys mentioned is that how you had that consistent schedule of those live sessions. And one thing I would like to bring up, because I know since we've been in this virtual setting, one of the barriers that educators have faced has been engagement. I know that's been a big thing across all settings, has been engagement, but you ladies have actually had success in the engagement. And so when you had told me that, I was super excited for you all to hear that, because it's like you have found the key to that, to get that engagement. And these are your guys' words. I'm just, we talked the other day, but you talked about building those relationships. So talk about, like, when you said when you started your live sessions, how you don't just get straight into that lesson, you give them a moment to chit chat, and just, if you don't care, just touch on that a little bit, how you all start your lessons.
We do take a few minutes in the beginning, and we'll ask them how the weekend was, what they did, trying to get to know them. A lot of them are still very shy. They don't want to turn their cameras on, and so sometimes we'll have to say, well, we haven't seen your face in a while, just so we can see them. But I think they love that interaction with us too, and it's something normal, consistent. At least 4 days a week we go live with them, and so they feel like they know us as well. And I think that, like, they feel like they're disappointing us if they don't show up.
Which goes into kind of what you talk about, Doug, about building those relationships, how important that is.
Yeah, and that was something I was going to comment on there, I guess. But I love the check-in with the kids of the morning or at the beginning of the sessions. I mean, just a couple minutes just to talk about anything, because your sessions are so short and they're so jam-packed with the content that, sometimes these kids we've not seen in a while, we don't know what they're going through. They just need someone that they can talk to and share and vent to. So, just build that relationship, show interest in those kids. And it's really cool. Another thing I'd like to go back to real quick was, I think it was Miss Quillen was talking about immediate corrective feedback. That's really important as far as students learning the content and then practicing correctly, so that you're providing them with that feedback. And also, like you said, it helps build that relationship. Anyone can provide that feedback, so they look at y'all as equals, and you're all their teachers, not just Miss Quillen, not just Miss Jonette, they're all our teachers. So I think that goes a long way. And then, like I said, just to check in with them, man, that's awesome. You got to build those relationships, and sometimes with the parents as well, not just with the kids.
And that is with the team teaching that, and I, as a special education teacher myself, for, I don't know, 20 years, I'm not sure that there's been very rare cases to where I was thought of as a quote unquote real teacher. And that's the kids' words,
Yeah.
They don't know what we are really. They just know we're there to help them. But the way that you guys have got it is how it's the perfect model of how that should be. Those kids know that they have 3 teachers in that classroom that share that equal responsibility. And that is so valuable for you guys as well as those kids. I like too, you talked like with the station teaching that you do. So you had the 2 models there. You, the team, you have that shared responsibility, and then where all your students recognize all 3 of you all are real teachers, to quote the kids. And then the station teaching, you had talked about, that you all teach all the students. When you do your groups, you have that flexible grouping, and you don't have Kayla doesn't take just the special ed kids, or Stacy doesn't take just the kids that's at risk. You all teach all of them, and that's what is so important and what makes it successful, I think.
Yeah, we made sure that we had those 3 groups, and we all took turns with them. And so the group that didn't get any accommodations, then we just gave them a timer. They had 8 minutes, 45 seconds to do their passage, but we were there with them, while somebody else had a group that was reading and somebody else had a group that just got extended time, and then we kept rotating.
That's awesome. So when you all, in your district, you only had so far about a couple of weeks that you were able to do a hybrid schedule. You all have been virtual, I think, all year except for those couple of weeks. But had you had to make any changes as far as your planning and your strategies to do the hybrid setting?
Sometimes it kind of seemed like a free-for-all during hybrid. It worked out well for us because it was just an extension of what we do. Like, I had the computer going in my room the whole time. So if kids were there, they could ask questions, and whoever was closest answered. And whoever in the room needed help, whoever was closest answered. So we just kind of rotated the same, I think.
Well, that's pretty cool. That sounds like a well-oiled machine when you don't have to make many changes to go to virtual to the hybrid. And then if you happen to go back to in-person, then you guys will have that. You just take the screens away, and then you've got it. So let's talk about specially designed instruction a little bit. How do you implement that SDI in a co-teaching setting? Because I know that's something that's kind of hard to do sometimes.
For me anyway, like I try to, with our special ed kids, we make sure that we're providing them with the accommodations, but we don't single them out to know, that they're the only ones that's getting that. So during our live lessons, a lot of times like we said, we're all reading the passages out loud to them and reading the questions with all the answer choices, and kind of just making that available to everyone right now. But to kind of make it more for just them, like when we give feedback to them, we'll tell like the students that need that extra, we'll tell them exactly which questions they missed, and then the ones that maybe don't need that, we just tell them how many they missed. So it kind of narrows their answer choices down and makes that available to them.
And you guys had mentioned too, when we had talked last week about you all scheduling those private sessions based on what those students need. So that's really where you get that SDI from, that specially designed instruction, the different type of instruction of what they would need to get. So so in addition to those accommodations and modifications that you're doing, talk just a little bit about those private sessions you do, because that's where you provide that scaffolding instruction for them and that extra practice. So how do you all do that?
Ms. Quillen's the queen of that, so take that away.
Based on, how our lesson went, and that's what I said, I think too, of course, Johnette's planning. I mean, she knows exactly, she's the, the expert in all things ACT and English 3. And so her planning really is what has made it seamless. She says, here's what we have to accomplish. Here's what you can do. Here's what you can do. I'll do this. Does that seem to work? She asks for everybody's input and reflection. Will this work for your kids? Will this work, work for everybody? But after our lesson, we do spend quite a bit of time, reflecting and touching base at the end of the day or the beginning of the day or right after the lesson to see what the students need, and how we can meet their needs. And sometimes that is through a one-on-one virtual session with one of us, reteaching or using a different format, practicing on a different program or, re-practicing, revisiting, a previous lesson, correcting their own mistakes. I think that is something that Johnette has the students do almost daily. Here's where what you've missed, what can we help you do, what can we do to help you understand it? So like I said, sometimes that's a private virtual session. Sometimes that is an in-person session where the student does come into the building for a couple of hours for targeted services. And so they have that one-on-one instruction and practice again, with one of us. And again, it varies, who's available, who has worked with the student before. We try to meet
That's awesome.
every, of the students.
Well, I add that Miss Quillen stayed on one live meeting with one kid for 3 hours one day. I mean, she's available.
Wow. Wow. Well, you had mentioned those targeted services, and you had mentioned, you guys, the data that you all have collected throughout with this is you are closing that gap on some of those students, correct? Because that's what you had mentioned earlier. So those targeted services that you're providing for those kids is helping. So.
Yeah, we're trying to go back and the ones that didn't get off to a good start with the year, they thought, oh, well, this will end and I'll get back in the classroom, and kind of got so far behind. So we're focusing on those in targeted services as well.
A couple of things that stood out to me during that brief conversation there was the way that you said you work together. We all have strengths and we all have areas that we can improve. I'm not going to call them weaknesses, but there are areas that we can improve upon. And I like the way that you said that, there's open communication. We work with each other to determine what's going to be better for the kids. What can I do differently to help these students understand the content and the material, and just that you reflected on, the lesson and what happened, what could we done differently, what could have gone better. And that just open communication with all three of you. It's like it says, what's the old saying, teamwork makes the dream work. I mean, yes, cliche or whatever, but anyway, I mean, it's true in this case because, you three working together and the kids all know that you're there for them. And so that means a lot. A lot of folks, it's difficult to work together like that because, you don't want to have one person usually carries the load, but you all three have those strengths, and it's great job on working together and recognize each other's strengths.
And that goes like, personalities, you have to work with different personalities and things like that. So it takes a good, the perfect equation. I feel
Now you threw math in it. Oh my God.
To get it to right. But yeah, and it does sound like that. But like you said, you got to be able to have that open communication, which leads us to one of the questions I had. It's not the next question, but I'll go ahead and talk about it. When I talked to you guys last week and then listened to you guys again today, it is evident that you all just make a phenomenal team. And then I'm going to allow you to talk about what characteristics you think makes you all successful, because you are successful. It sounds awesome. And obviously, I had heard good things about you. That's why I reached out to you. So we're not the only ones that think you all do a phenomenal job. So what characteristics do you guys think make makes your team successful?
I can start with one because kind of adding to what he just said, this has been the best team I've worked with. I've not had so much luck in the past. So respect and trust. I respect both these ladies. Miss Quillen and I are old, but we've known Kella her whole life. But I've known Stacy my whole life as well. Went to school with her. So I respect their judgment and I trust them with all the students. I mean, it's not like it's easy for me to say, hey, Kella, can you work with this one? Or Stacy, can you work with that one or whatever? And I've not had that in the past. So that's made my job so much easier.
I think sometimes it's the flexibility and, like I said, the reflection. I think that's so important. When we finish a class, I mean, we're honest with ourselves. And I said at the beginning, we didn't give ourselves so much grace. We kind of beat ourselves up at the beginning. You know, we said, well, that flopped. You know, I mean, we could just, you know, this went well, this didn't. Third period, we have first period and third period together. And if we need to make an adjustment, we talk about it there at the end of the live session and say, well, we'll do it this way, third period. I mean, we make it, you know, and then we know, you know, scratch that didn't work. And we, you know, have kind of found our groove and what does work. I think too is routine. On it, we kind of have our routine and the kids know it and we know it. And it just makes life easier because we found what works. We know what doesn't. And we go with that. And the students, it's predictable, you know, for the students too. They know how we're going to do it. They know what we expect. And they know that we'll see them through. You know, if they have a question, a comment, they know that we're flexible with each other. We're flexible with the students, but still hold them accountable, you know, but still with the circumstances like they are, we've kind of, you know, have to meet them where they are.
Right.
It's more important now than ever.
I kind of described last week to you, Chasity, you know, I think these two they're superstars, and I just kind of go by what they do, and they've tagged me along, you know, along the way, and I really look up to them, and they've been great role models for me in my teaching career as well. And I just think this is just a great team that works well together, and the kids, I think, see that too, that, you know, we can always, you know, just have a joke with them too, and just, you know, get along. And I think it makes an easy atmosphere for them too. They're not like embarrassed to like say anything or reach out or talk to any of us and ask questions throughout the lessons. And we joke around. We got this one little kid that we look for him every time, no matter if it's first period, third period, whatever. We're like, where's he at? You know, and we just joke around with him every day.
That is awesome. I think when Johnette said respect and trust, I mean that really hit home. I totally agree with that. I agree with everything you guys said, but I know that when I had to, there was, you know, I've co-taught with a lot of different teachers, and like you said again, Johnette, like you said, some teachers, they've had experiences that may not be favorable at times. So, you know, when you have that new team, then you have to kind of build that relationship. And then once you gain that trust and that respect with each other, then you can move forward and do. But I think sometimes you have to establish that first.
And I like you talked about, you pointed out the routines and the predictability. You know, that fosters safety with the kids that you're working with. You know, if they know what's going to happen, if they know, you know, what's coming next, that provides them with a little bit of stability in their life. So that helps foster that safety, and that helps to build that. I'm back to building the relationships again. That
You can tell
helps
his behavior.
Yeah, that'll solve everything.
So
Build a
emotional.
relationship. Yeah, build a relationship.
You can do
Yeah,
that
don't worry
week
about that.
3, Doug. This is week 1.
No, well, then you shouldn't have invited me. But yeah, you ladies did an awesome job with that. I've lost what I was going to say now, and it was some mind-blowing stuff right there. But and then of course, enjoying the team that you're working with. That makes the day a whole lot easier for you and for the kids. If the kids see you folks are enjoying each other and working together and having fun, then the kids are going to follow along in that, and you're going to have a positive atmosphere. I mean, kids pick up on this and they watch us constantly, so they know if we like who we're working with or not. So
Absolutely. They can
excellent
read
job.
the body language. Well, and I don't know if this is where you were going, but you were talking about the safety with the students. But that what you all were saying about how the kids are, well, first of all, you have them show up at your live
Yeah.
sessions. And we didn't mention this first earlier, but when I had asked you last week about your engagement, you had told me that the special ed kids are the ones that show up more
Wow.
than kids without IEPs. And I think that just really speaks volumes, which that leads back to what Doug was saying about the safety. You make kids feel safe. You make them, that's probably the bright spot of the day. They are eager to sign into that live session because they know that they've got 3 people that's going to care about them and worry about them. About their well-being, as well as if I don't get my stuff done, they're going to be calling me and I'm going to have to keep my grades up. But she also loves me and cares about if I'm doing okay. And I really think that is the key to your all success, not to mention, the content. Your kids are being successful. You're closing that gap academically, but going back to the relationship thing, I think we meet, it comes up in every podcast that we've done since October, is you have to, and you can help me with this better, say it better, but like you have to build that relationship before how's that saying, they have to learn to like you before they learn?
Oh, it is, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
Another one of those cliche things. Yeah, you can tell we're old timers.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to, these kids would have no doubt would, run through a brick wall for you guys. So you have to have that first before they're going to have to worry about that ACT.
And creating that environment too, that the kids feel safe enough that if I make a mistake or if I goof up, I'm going to learn from that mistake. They're going to help guide me, help direct me. So, and that goes a long way too. So
we do say that a lot. Like, it's okay if because they're afraid to answer a question. I'm like, it's okay if you got it wrong. We're going to talk about why you got it wrong and how you can get it right. I mean, we mess up all the time too, so they see us.
I was going to say, I was a good example of messing up so I could learn from it. So my boys knew that, it's all right. He messes up all the time. So, but no, you ladies do an awesome job. Great job.
And the last thing that we'll touch on before, and then just kind of recap a little bit, talking about you had collected your data. So as you go through your daily assignments and you collect that data, what I found was really interesting was how you guys said that you form those groups, which you mentioned that earlier, but you all form individual Google Meets with each other based on that data. So even though, and I just answered the question for you and I apologize. But I just thought it was really interesting. So you guys, you take those daily assignments and that questioning throughout, so that those little checks throughout the lesson to form those groups, and which goes back to your team teaching and things like that. But and then provide that scaffolding, that instruction in order for them to get that the content because that they need in the ACT. Because also, we talked about the assignments, you all can modify assignments, but like you said earlier, the ACT, there's no modifying that ACT, so they're going to have to do it as is. So
I try to talk to them when we're in our meetings too, like especially if I have the group that's got the readers. I tell them, questions they can ask when they get a reader. Like, if somebody's reading you something, you don't understand it, feel free to say, reread that, say that again or go over it again. So we try to do that all along as well.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that's so important because they don't know what they can ask or they need to be reminded to do that. So, but, well, I guess it is about time also. It's actually 4:00 on the dot, which that's okay. But the last thing is what, at your point in your careers, what advice or final thoughts would you like to share with other teachers? And we're going to let Kayla go first since she's the baby.
Take notes on this right here.
Well, I think just that kind of advice to other teachers that work with, collaborating with like with us, we're lucky enough to have 3 of us. I just think to get to know each other, like on a personal level as well, and that helps you just in your classroom with the kids. We all text each other even when it's, not even a school day or something, just checking in. Like I'll give them updates on our basketball team and just things like that. I just think it's really important to have that personal relationship with the people that you work with.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I said the other day, I've been on both sides of it, and I've learned a lot this year being on this side of co-teaching and not being the head teacher, I guess you want to say, in the classroom, the classroom teacher. But Johnette is like, she is very organized, and she's I don't know how to say, she already knows the role everybody should play to get the job done. She's concise, she's decisive, and she says, here's how I think we could do it. What do you all think? She asks for, everybody has input. Everybody does feel valued in it. And she is, direct in saying, this is the role we can play to accomplish this. And I think if I were back in the classroom, I would remember that. I would just say, here's what we need to do. Just make the game plan, have the game plan, let everybody, your assistant coaches, help with the game plan, and then everybody implements.
Yeah, that I like that analogy. You can tell you guys are all sports people. I love it. But yeah, because what I was hearing you say is she has great leadership skills. So she takes that leadership or head coach, if you will.
Yes.
But you have to have that. You have those established roles, and it is important.
I guess I'll keep that analogy. I don't like to fail. I want my kids to always do best. So, but my advice, I guess, goes back to when I first began teaching, and I thought I had to be perfect with everything, and kids would correct me, and I couldn't take it. And so I remember years later when I got something wrong and a kid corrected me, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And then a student actually said, that is so cool that you don't care that we correct you. But it's okay to be wrong. And I remembered that for so many years. So it's okay to mess up. It's okay to be wrong because the kids love to correct you.
Well, and that's good. And it like Doug has said a bunch of times, it shows that we're human. We're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. And he has to remind me of that because I kind of panic too. Like you said, Donette, I don't, when things don't go exactly as planned or things like that, I start to stress out, and you just have to get that little reminder sometimes. So
Especially this year, we just have to learn to go with the flow.
Yeah. So I think that's anything to throw in there.
No, I just like the just going back, just building that relationship with not only your students but with your colleagues. That's really important. And like Miss Stacy said, make sure that it's organized and someone's got a game plan. And then Miss Johnette, it's all right if we make mistakes. Hey, kids love to correct us, so they're there for, we're there to show them that's all right. We're not all perfect. Not all of us.
Well, and I will say this, and I've just enjoyed it, and we're going over just a little bit, but I think it's important to note, Kelly, you were talking about having the opportunity to work with superstars, and these ladies are superstars. I've had experience with them as well, but I think that's a blessing for you, and you've recognized that. But it's important for when people are young in their career to have that opportunity, because in all honesty, especially in education, it's so difficult anyway. Having those role models and having somebody that can teach you, and it can make you or break you. And I was fortunate enough to have that as well. When I first started, I had a couple of teachers surrounded me that they just picked me up and showed me, and they were awesome teachers. And I learned correctly, or, right out of the gate. And so having the opportunity to do that, I think is vital. So if, new teachers, find a mentor in your building and snatch onto them and use them like a sponge, because it really makes your life a lot easier.
Be willing to be coached as well.
Yes, you have to be able, yes.
Sometimes we get stubborn.
Thank you guys for joining us for this week's podcast. I'm excited that we learned how these ladies are using team teaching and station teaching with their students, and how they're just building that relationships with themselves, among themselves, as well as their students. And I also loved the techniques that they use to ensure that all three of those teachers are viewed as real teachers. I mean, that's just phenomenal. And it just really blows me away. So I love that part about it, and how that they don't accept kids to fail. I mean, it's just not an option. And the kids embrace that, and the engagement piece that they have been able to have with their students. So I love learning about that today.
Like the consistency and the routine. Those are some points that I liked hearing those points stressed, and feedback and relationship. Sorry.
For deeper understanding and resources and more specific strategies and tools, you can join the Literacy Podcast Google Classroom by using this class code of XLZLGGS. You can email me at chastitycraft@theholler.org. And you can also, don't forget to visit our Facebook page, KVEC Exceptional Children, like and share and follow, and on Instagram, KVEC EC. You can visit theholler.org. Under the special ed tab, we have all of our podcasts that we've done, as well as several tools and resources for you guys as well, that for you all to have to help you in your classroom. So we hope that you can join us next month as we talk about developing goals and determining accommodations. Okay, guys,
Sure.
Thank you. And until next time, we'll holler at you later.